All right, so welcome to this revision class for chemistry. It is a preparation for the students writing the exam on Monday. We will be working 125 questions this morning, and I do hope that it gives good preparation and good practice to the students for that exam. So we'll make a start now. Question 1. Particles of a solid cannot move about freely because. So type in your answer in the chat, and then I'll just look at the answers and discuss. All right, so the first answer there, somebody sent an answer. That is correct. It is B. Question 2. Which of the following processes does not provide evidence in support of the particulate nature of matter? And that is filtration, correct? Osmosis, diffusion, and Brownian motion. These are the three processes that do provide evidence in support of the particulate nature of matter. Question 3. Which of the following mixtures are arranged in order of increase in particle size? So it means from smallest to largest in terms of particle size. So which one out of the three solution, suspension, colloids, which one of them is the smallest and which is the largest? So we will know that it is the solution that is the smallest and the suspension particles are the largest, right? Because the suspension particles, if you think about them or think about it, it will not pass through the filter paper. All right, so then this answer here is C. Question 4. Sulfuric acid is a strong acid and ethanoic acid in an aqueous solution because now whenever we compare the strength of an acid, we are basically looking at the extent to which the acid is going to ionize. All right, so sulfuric acid is a strong acid because it ionizes to a greater extent than ethanoic acid. The question 4 is C. 50 persons with that answer, which is good. Question 5. So we have two particles, 1 and 2, and these are the number of the subatomic particles. For particle 1, it has 10 protons, 12 neutrons, and 10 electrons. And particle 2, 10 protons, 11 neutrons, and 10 electrons. So what term can we use to describe these two particles? You can see that they have the same number of protons, it's the same, and we see that the number of neutrons is different. So whenever they have same number of protons, different number of neutrons, we call that, yes, correct, isotopes. Someone is asking, which year paper is this? The questions presented today are taken from January 2017, 2018, and 2020. Question 6. It gives you the notation, the notation of the symbol of an element, and in this case it's chlorine, Cl. And you're given two numbers here, 17 and 35. So the question is asking you, what is this number 17 representing? All right, yes, so I see, please type the question number and the response, because the internet connection, some of you can still be responding to number 5. All right, so yes, question 6. So this number here and the bottom left hand corner is the atomic number. All right, and the one at the top is the mass number. Symbols, this is A and this is Z. Just a quick recap. A quick way of just knowing this here is that how the atomic number is going to be the smaller number and the mass number is going to be the larger number. All right, so this is the atomic number. Question 7. So let me just work this out here quickly for you. Question is asking you what mass of oxygen atoms contains the same number of moles as 112 grams of sulfur atoms. So you'll have to first calculate the number of moles of sulfur atoms present in 112 grams of sulfur. So the number of moles will equal to 112, this is for sulfur, divided by the mass of sulfur being 32, which is equal to 3.5. We then take the 3.5 for oxygen, we take the 3.5 and we multiply by oxygen's mass, which is C. So this is going to equal to 56 grams. So the answer there is C, 56.00 grams. Question 8 is asking about the halogens. What is their state at room temperature? And in particular, they're asking which one is a liquid at room temperature. All right, so yes, I'm seeing a person getting that correct. It is bromine. It's a liquid. What is fluorine at room temperature? Is fluorine a solid, liquid, or gas? All right, yes, I see. Fluorine, the one that I'm putting the arrow here. The fluorine is a gas. Okay, fluorine is also a gas, correct? And I saved this one here for last. Iodine. Correct, right? Iodine is a solid. A lot of them might be tempted to say, you know what, you're using iodine in school and you're saying that it is a liquid. That is not iodine that you're using in school. You're using iodine solution in the test for starch or test for presence of starch. That is potassium iodide solution. All right, so that is not iodine, that's an iodide solution. Question 9 says here that the sodium chloride has a high melting point. What is the reason for this high melting point? Is it that because sodium has a high melting point? Is it that chlorine is a powerful oxidizing agent? Crystals do not absorb heat readily, or is it that the bonds, the ions, are bonded by strong electrostatic forces? Margot, correct? Most of you saying yes, it is D. The ions are bound by strong electrostatic forces. Moving on to question 10. Says here that a new element R shows chemical properties similar to that of sodium. What is the correct formula of a compound formed between R and sulfur? So we know that the sodium has a +1 charge, the sodium ion. So it's telling us also that our R will have a +1 charge, and sulfur we all know it has a 2- charge. or -2. Let's go that -2 for this problem here. So the formula is going to work out to be we just x the charges. So that is going to be R2s, which is 8. Question 11. You're given a diagram and you're asked, what does this diagram represent? The arrangement of atoms in is sulfur, benzene, graphite, or diamond. Just a reminder again, type the number and the letter that you're responding to. Alright, that is graphite. This is a very simple question. Alright, so yes. Question 12 is basically asking you what is the definition for ionic bonding. So ionic bond formation results from this something. And we should know it is actually electrons moving from metals to non-metals. Alright, so our answer there is going to be B, donation of electrons from a metal to a non-metal to achieve stability. Question 13. It is basically asking you what are some similarities of elements that are in the same group of the periodic table. All right, so just type in your answer and just respond to a message. Let's put it here. So why is it that all elements are placed in the same group? It is simply because their last shell or the valence shell have the same number of electrons. All right, so the answer there is C. They have the same number of electrons in their outer shell. Question 14. What is the definition of an acid? That's the first definition you normally get when you're in fourth form going through acids. It is defined as a proton dual. All right, so question 14 is A. Question 15 tells us here that a salt was heated with a certain base. The gas evolved, turned moist red litmus paper blue. So this is telling us that this here is a basic gas. All right, so we have an alkaline gas. Which of the following ions does this salt contain? Now, the only common alkaline gas that you should know about is ammonia gas. So therefore, the ammonia is basically coming from an ammonium salt, the accumulated base. All right, so that answer there is B. Question 16. The calcium ion has an oxidation number of +2 because the calcium ion, and you're given some option here. So you should know that calcium, the atom has, sorry, the calcium atom, the question is asking, it has 20 electrons. So the configuration will have been 2, 8, 8, 2. Now during bonding, calcium is going to lose these 2 electrons, ending up with a 2+ charge. Alright, so the answer there is A, 2 electrons in its outermost shell. Question 17. It presents a graph of pH versus volume of Y added. And you're asked to guess what is X and what is Y. So they had a container of X and then they were adding Y to the container, measuring the pH values as they going along. So at zero volume of Y, meaning that it was only X, we had a pH value of 1, which is telling us that's an acidic solution. So we can strike out B and D. So hydrochloric acid, B or C is the answer here. Just follow the diagram still. So we continue adding Y until a point of neutralization, and then excess of Y gives you this curve here. And we see that we have a pH value of above 7, which is telling us that's a basic or an alkaline solution. So to the two responses, it is going to be potassium hydroxide. So the answer there is C. Question 18. So question 18, you have to do a bit of calculation here. So we have the formula CO2, that's carbon dioxide gas. Let's write that down. And the question tells you that carbon is 12, so that's 12 times 1, and oxygen is 16, so 16 times 2, giving you a total of the molar mass being 44 grams. So 88 grams is basically 88 divided by 44, which is equal to 2. So we have to times all the atoms of 2. So the question is asking what the atoms, so we times in this by 2 and we times in this by 2. So we're going to end up with 2 moles of carbon atoms and 4 moles of oxygen atoms. So the answer is D. Question 19 deals with the factors affecting the rate of a chemical reaction. And you're asked, which of the following procedures should be employed to increase the rate of a reaction between a metal and an acid? So let's go through. Increasing the temperature at which the reaction is carried out. Yes, we should increase the temperature. Subdividing the piece of metal. Again, yes, we will be increasing the surface area. Reducing the concentration of the acid. That is not so. Actually, it is the opposite. We have to increase the concentration, not reduce the concentration. So it is 1 and 2 only. So the answer there is A. 1 and 2 only. Question 20. Which of the following pairs of elements exhibit allotropy? And you should know that it is sulfur and carbon exhibiting allotropy. Or that's just a simple question here. 21. In which of the following processes is fractional distillation not used? So we should know when should we use fractional distillation. We use that process or separation technique when we have two miscible liquids or fluids. In that case, we also fluids can mean liquids or gases with different boiling points. So going through here, we actually use fractional distillation in this process. That's A, B, and C. So it is, the answer here is B. We do not use fractional distillation in the conversion of alkenes into alkenes. But going on to 22. So the question reads, a piece of calcium was added to some distilled water in a container, and the following observations were made. So let me just write out the equation, and then we can more relate to that. So calcium plus water will give you calcium hydroxide plus hydrogen gas. You don't need to balance the equation, but just for revision's sake, whenever you probably review and like this video, you need to place 2 in front of the water balance equation. So the first part asks you, the gas produced is expected to something. Well, the gas produced is hydrogen gas, and the test for hydrogen gas is that you place a lighted splint at the top of the tube, and you will hear a pop sound. All right, so that is B. So 22 is B. 23 continues with the same introduction. So I'm just going to go back to relate to the graph, the equation, sorry. So it says that the cloudy suspension was produced because in water something. So let's talk about it. So we have calcium hydroxide being produced here. So the answer here is that our calcium hydroxide is slightly soluble. All right, so the answer is E. Question 24 again relates to this same introduction. It says here, a sample of a suspension was filtered and the pH of the filtrate was determined. The expected pH of the filtrate should be approximately, and let's just go back at the equation. So again, we had calcium hydroxide in form and hydrogen gas. The hydrogen gas is going to be, will evolve actually. So we're going to calcium hydroxide solution. So the pH values here, these here are acidic values. It is not going to be acidic, not going to be neutral. It's actually going to be around a pH of 10 or approximately 10 because it's calcium hydroxide solution, which is an alkali. '25. This is dealing with test for gases again. Which of the following substances reacts with an acid liberating a gas which turns lime water milky? So which gas does that? That is carbon dioxide gas. So it means the acid has to react with the carbonate to produce carbon dioxide gas. So that carbonate, or these options, it's going to be calcium carbonate. '26. You're given an energy profile diagram and you're asked, what can be said about the reactants? So looking at the energy profile diagram, we can see that this is an endothermic reaction. Just a reminder, for endothermic reactions, we have a delta H positive. And during these reactions, we normally feel it getting cold, or if we touch the container. So going through the options here, the best response, it can be said that the reactants absorb energy to form products. All right, so moving on to 27. The oxidation number of silicon in, I'm given a formula here, is, so let's just work that out. So we know that our sodium has a +1 charge. Question is asking for silicon, so we know that X, and oxygen is -2. Sum of the oxidation numbers, or the total oxidation numbers, should be equal to 0. So we can write the formula: 2 times 1, that's 2, plus X, 3 times -2, that's -6, is equal to 0. Working that out, that will equal to X is equal to 6 minus 2, which is equal to +4. So the answer there is D, 4, or should have been +4. Question 28, on the topic electrolysis, it asks you, when a concentrated solution of sodium chloride is electrolyzed using carbon electrodes, what actually happens? So just identifying the ions. So ions present in this system. On the sodium chloride, it is going to be sodium ions and the chloride ions, and the water is going to give us H plus OH minus ions. So these cations will be going towards the cathode, and the anions towards the anode. In terms of preferential discharge, the hydrogen is going to be discharged because it is the electrochemical series. But for the anions, it is going to be the chloride ions because it is more concentrated. So the hydrogen ions are going to go towards the cathode, producing hydrogen gas, and the chloride going to produce chlorine gas. So going through the options here, we see that it is going to be A. Chlorine is liberated at the anode. Question 29 again deals with factors affecting the rate of a chemical reaction. The question asks you, which does not affect the rate of a chemical reaction? Is it the presence of the catalyst? Well, yes, this does. Concentration of reactants? Yes, again. Temperature? Yes. So the answer there is D. The energy change associated with the reaction. Question 30 asks us, which of the following elements form an oxide when born, an acidic oxide when burnt in here? So acidic oxide, we should know, as the first thing we have to establish. These are basically oxides of non-metals, which will react with water to form an acid, or the oxides of non-metals, which react with alkalis to form salt and water. So it's basically non-metals we're talking about, right? Not saying it's all non-metals, but as the first thing we should be start working with. So we can strike out aluminium right away there. Striking out aluminium, we will see that our A, B, and D are going to be incorrect, leaving us with the option C. Question 31. When a piece of magnesium ribbon is burnt in air, magnesium oxide is formed. It is then placed in water and tested with litmus, which turns blue. So again, once it turns blue, we can say that that is basic. Question 32. A suitable drying agent for the laboratory preparation of ammonia is? So that is A, calcium oxide. Question 33. Which of the following metals will not displace hydrogen from dilute hydrochloric acid? So for that to happen, which will not, it is basically referring to an element or a metal that is below hydrogen in the reactivity series. And that is going to be copper, which is below hydrogen. Question 34. Potassium is a metal, and from this information only, so it is only talking about it is a metal, right? So it's basically asking to generalize characteristics of metals. So it may be deduced that potassium is it that is very soft, it's soft rather, it is very reactive, low melting point. Well, basically metals do not have a melting point. But soft potassium is soft in reality, but we're talking about all metals or a generalized property of metals. So some metals are not so reactive, so these two are wrong also. It is a good conductor of electricity. Yes, generally speaking. Metals are good conductors of electricity. Question 35 is asking you what is an alloy? And you should know that an alloy is basically a mixture of metals. So that's B. Question 36. All right, so give you a chance to try out question 36. Good, so I see most of you saying C, which is correct. All right, so it tells us here that ammonia there reacting with hydrogen fluoride is going to form white fumes, and actually that is ammonium chloride. All right, which is white. Question 37. I said as here that question 37 and 38 is going to refer to the extraction of aluminum from bauxite. Why do we use cryolite in the process? So cryolite is used to lower the melting point of the electrolyte. All right, so the answer is B. Thirty-eight again, during the extraction of aluminum from bauxite, what happens to the anode, the carbon anode? Now at the anode, oxygen gas is going to be produced, and that oxygen gas is going to react with the carbon to form carbon dioxide gas. All right, so in that process, the anode is going to be oxidized by oxygen. All right, so 38 is E. Reminder again to a few of you, ensure that you're typing the question number and your response. All right, I will not be able to follow which question you're replying to. Question 39. Which of the following elements is an important constituent of chlorophyll? Good, so it is D. If the question had asked you, because that's another popular question, which of the following elements is an important constituent of hemoglobin, or it is related to hemoglobin and blood in your body? Good, so yes, it is the iron. Question 40. Which of the following is or are true of non-metals? So the first one there, they are reducing agents. Is that true? Is not true? So non-metals, I'm just going to use the letters NM to represent them. Non-metals actually gain electrons to end up with a negative charge. All right, so we should remember that the oil rig rule. So gain of electrons mean that so they are being reduced, which in turn means that they are good oxidizing agents. So one is incorrect. And we look at the options here. If one is incorrect, we can strike B, C, and D, leaving us with A only. And if we read the second option, they're capable of replacing the hydrogen in acids to form salts. That's not true. It's actually metal ions that replace the hydrogen. Question 41. The main substances responsible for acid rain are? Good, it is B, sulfur dioxide and sulfur trioxide. Question 42. Which of the following elements is the most electropositive? Good, and yes, correct, and that is C. 50% I'm thinking it is D, but no, it is C. Question 43 gives you an equation showing the stages in a sequence. It asks you which a suitable reagent, sorry, that could be used at stage 4 is. So stage 4, we're seeing iron 3 sulfate going to iron 3 hydroxide. So from a sulfate to hydroxide, what reagent should we add in there? And yes, it is aqueous sodium hydroxide. Question 44 is a very simple question. I think we've worked this from several other papers before. That's correct. It is B. Because indeed, all these members of a series are going to have similar chemical properties because they're going to have the same functional group. They have the same functional, well, yes, I just said that they have the same functional group and they have the same general formula. All right, so then they will not have the same empirical formula. Question 45 presents you with two organic compounds, 1 and 2, and they tell you both of them have the same molecular formula. When we look at them, they have different structural formula. So compounds 1 and 2 are known as the something of C3H8O. All right, so I'm seeing, well, yes, everybody's recognizing that these two are incorrect. Some persons mistaking the words here. So is it isomers or isotopes? All right, so it is isomers. All right, isotopes are referring to atoms with same atomic number, same proton number, but different neutron number. But it's in organic chemistry, we're talking about isomers. All right, so open the exam, you don't get a mistake here. Question 46, I'm asked us which compound is 2-bromobutane. So but means that is 4 carbons, ane meaning that it's 4 carbons link in carbon single bonds. All right, so we can eliminate a few of them. So B and D are going to be incorrect. The next part tells us 2-bromo, which means that on the second carbon we have bromine. All right, so going with that there, you'll see that the answer there is C. So in the first, second carbon, we have bromine. Question 47. Which of the following about ethane is correct? So ethane, that's an alkane, which is telling us right away carbon-carbon double bond. That is not correct. So what is the general formula for alkanes? That says CnH2n plus 2, which is telling us the answer there is D. And we have established already that our empirical formula is not the same in any series. All right, this molecular formula here is basically this structure here. Question 48. Which of the following substances will an alkane react with? All right, so I'm just going to write down the simplest alkane. All right, so because somebody is asking, maybe it is A or B. Well, it will make sense to be adding hydrogen because it has hydrogen there already. So the answer there is A, chlorine. You'll have learned in probably the written, you will have done organic chemistry. And there are basically two reactions that you learn about alkane, right? You learn the combustion reaction and reaction with the halotone. Question 49. Which of the options here is the formula of a compound that undergoes a substitution reaction with bromine? So substitution reaction means that it is an alkane. All right, alkenes undergo addition reaction. So we look and see which one is alkane, which is the general form of an alkane. I have mentioned that in just a previous slide. So the answer here is B. But I'm seeing most persons saying it is B. Question 50 refers to the same set of options, and it's asking you now which of the formula is that of a compound which burns with a sooty flame. So we'll expect the alkenes to burn with a sooty flame. All right, so that answer there will be but correct, and that is B. Question 51 asks us which of the following statements are true of alkanes and alkenes? So let's go them through. Both burn in air to give carbon dioxide and water. That is true. Alkanes undergo substitution reaction, whilst alkenes undergo addition reactions, and that is true. Alkanes are unsaturated. Sorry, alkanes are saturated, whilst the alkenes are unsaturated. And again, this is true. All right, so all three of them are true, which is D. All right, and a quick way to remember, because I'm seeing a few persons with not sure about the last option. Quick way to remember is that S for single bond and S is for saturated. All right, it's just a quick way to remember what is saturated. Question 52. What is the name of the catalyzed reaction which uses an alcohol and an organic acid? So alcohol plus acid plus carboxylic acid or an organic acid. What will that produce? That's correct. It is going to produce an ester, or we call the process esterification. So we have here ester and H2O. 53. What is the name of the process in which proteins are formed from amino acids? So we have amino acids plus amino acids plus amino acids. What is that process called? That is going to form proteins. All right, so it's called an addition reaction, isomerism, esterification, or polymerization. Okay, so yes, I see most persons saying it is D, so that is correct. It is polymerization. And anybody can recall what type of polymerization? There are two types of polymerization. So which type is amino acids forming protein? Let's see who first can type in the answer. Correct answer, that is. But we have Romina saying correct answer there, right? Romina, you have been messaging, but at least you get the correct answer there. Condensation. All right, so just a quick recap of that because you never know. Question can come like that, and what type of polymerization is occurring there? Question 54. Which of the following equations represents the fermentation of sugars using glucose as a substrate? So make sure you're looking at the equation well. It is simply saying we are using glucose as in terms of a reaction as the reactant. All right, so glucose should be on this one side of the equation. But yes, so I'm seeing everyone saying A. So this glucose is going to form ethanol plus carbon dioxide gas. Question 55. During the process of cracking, what happens to the large alkane molecules? What do they produce? A mixture of, and correct, they produce a mixture of small alkenes and at least one small alkene. Question 56. Which of the following reaction, which of the following, sorry, are reactions of ethanoic acid? So ethanoic acid basically, although it's an organic acid, it behaves just like our lab acids. So go through the options here. It forms a salt with aqueous sodium hydroxide. That is true. It liberates carbon dioxide from a carbonate. That is true. It liberates hydrogen on contact with a strongly electropositive metal again. That is true. So the answer there is 1, 2, 1, 3. Question 57. Which of the following compounds can decolorize potassium manganate 7? So we're looking basically at a alkene. That answer there is going to be ethene, which is B. Question 58. Which of the following is not formed from condensation polymerization? The answer there is the polyalkenes. Question 59. It is better to use soapless detergents for washing in hard water than it is to use soap because soapless detergents, answer there being C, soapless detergents are more solid in hard water than the soaps. Question 60. Which of the following hydrocarbons is a major constituent of natural gas? But yes, that is correct. A. methane. Question 61. The major natural source of alkanes and alkenes is? So the syllabus said that there are two major sources, or two sources, two natural sources, and those are petroleum and natural gas. All right, so we can strike out these two here. So out of these two now, which is the major natural source? And the major natural source is going to be petroleum. Question 62. So this is a very simple one. Which one, which situation is demonstrating Brownian motion? Or good, so it is A. What is B demonstrating? Option B, it says here that the scent of perfume moving from one part of a room to another. So which process is B? Good, yes, correct, that's diffusion. How about C? But C is osmosis. All right, D is not related to, this is basically related topic matter, where we look at movements of particles. Or showing them actually that matter is made up of particles, right? Question 63. It asks us there, what is the, which of the properties refer to a neutron? Good, so the answer there is B. Correct, I see most persons sending in B. It has a charge of 0, neutron meaning it is neutral, and it has a mass of, approximate mass of 1, or relative mass of 1. Option A, relative charge of +1, relative mass of 1 is what? So we know that this is a neutron. What is option A? Good, correct, this is the proton. Option C, relative charge of -1, approximate mass of 0. This is correct, this is the electron. All right, option D was simply just a distractor. Question 64. It presents to you 4 options in terms of boiling point, electrical conductivity in solid state, and in the aqueous state. And it asks you here, which is most likely going to be sodium chloride? So with sodium chloride, we know it has a high boiling point, so we can strike out D. Conduct electricity in the solid state? No. We can strike out C. And conduct electricity in the aqueous state? It is yes. All right, so that answer is going to be A. Question 65. Which of the following compounds is soluble in cold water? And I hope that you have memorized, or you know your solubility rules properly. Remind again, type in the question number, right, when you're sending in your response. So you should remember that all nitrates are soluble. So the answer there is B, lead. All nitrates, sorry, are solid, so it is B, lead nitrate. All right, so moving on to the next question. Question 66. Which of the following oxides shows both acidic and basic properties? And these oxides we call them amphoteric oxides. Okay, so yes, it is aluminum oxide. 67, asking you what is the difference between an atom and an ion. So reading through the options here, we will see that so it is D, that an atom contains equal numbers of protons and electrons, whereas the ion is going to contain unequal number of protons and electrons, because an ion is going to lose or gain electrons, all right? So we don't expect at the end for them to have equal numbers here. 8, we have a reaction between ethene and chlorine. The question is asking you what type of reaction is this representing? So yes, it is correct. A, addition, where we're going to have that the double bond breaks and chlorine is added to the two carbon. 69, which of the following is classified as a neutral oxide? I'll give you a chance to send your responses. All right, so the answer there is D, carbon monoxide. All right, sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide are acidic oxides, and sodium oxide is a basic oxide. Question 70 talks about the relationship between the electronic configuration and the position of an element in the periodic table. So you're given the electronic configuration of 281. So we know that the number of electrons in the last shell, that's the group number, and the number of shells will be the period number. So it is basically period 3. And this will be group 1. All right, so that answer there is C, period 3, group 1. Question 71. When a compound is treated with concentrated hydrochloric acid, a greenish yellow gas, which bleaches moist litmus paper, moist red litmus paper is given out. So which gas is greenish yellow gas? And also it is produced from concentrated hydrochloric acid. So that's a giveaway. But yes, it is chlorine gas. The question 72 continues with the same introduction about treating a compound with concentrated hydrochloric acid. It asks you what is the concentrated acid acting as. And it is reducing agent. This is actually the test for one of the tests for reducing agent. R2 72 is C. 73. Two solutions are to be mixed in order to demonstrate endothermic change. So which of the following techniques will be most appropriate? We take mass readings, temperature readings, monitor the pH, or we just look at color changes? That's correct, and most of you, it is B. We take temperature readings. So what do we expect? It is an endothermic change. What do we expect to happen to the temperature or the readings? We expect it to increase or to decrease? I will have mentioned this at a previous slide today. So we have exothermic, and we have endothermic. So exothermic reactions, we expect the temperature is going to increase, and endothermic, we expect it to decrease. All right, so exothermic reactions, we feel it very warm, and endothermic is going to feel cooler. Good. 74. Crystals of sodium chloride are best described as. Or about that. So everybody has that right. 74 is a ionic crystals. 75. So 75, I'll have to do a bit of writing here to go through to get the answer. So the question tells us ethanoic acid reacts with ethanol. So write down the equation. Ethanoic acid, it is CH3COH plus ethanol is C2H5OH. And this is going to give us an ester, which is CH3COOC2H5 plus H2. Now, balancing the equation, you will see that the equation is already balanced. So it is a 1 to 1 to 1. Okay. 1 to 1, 1 to 1. Good. That's just to work with this problem here. So the question tells us to produce 0.5 moles of the ester. How many moles of ethanoic acid do we need? That is also 0.5. The answer there is B, 0.5. I hope you're not just memorizing the answers, but you're understanding how we go about getting that answer, right? Because you want to, on Monday you see totally different question, and then you're wondering, now, should I go with B because the question I worked before was B, or do I actually make a guess for some other thing, right? So ensure that you're understanding the working as we go along. So question 76. So question 76 is basically comparing the corrosion of aluminum and iron. So it tells us here that iron products with time, it corrodes and it deteriorates. However, with aluminum, over time, nothing happens to it like that. So, what is the rationale behind that? So, I have an answer of B. I have somebody saying C. A few more B's again. I have A now. We have A, B, and C. Or so somebody, I don't know if you're playing the wicked or you're just typing in D as your answer now. So the answer there is that aluminum is going to form an aluminum oxide coating, which prevents further reaction. All right, so the answer there is C. So both of them are going to corrode, but it's just that the aluminum oxide prevents further corrosion or further reaction. Which of the following statements regarding the effect of a catalyst and a reaction is not true? So let's see what are your responses. Remember to put an asterisk if you're not certain about the answer, so I know that you're probably not sure. How many questions asking, which is incorrect, right? And be careful about that. That is why you'll see that the exam it put these words here in all caps or it bold the word. So the answer there is A. It has no effect on the yield of the products, right? The yield has to do with the amount of or the concentration of the reactants, the amount and the mass and the concentration. All right, so it has the catalyst will not have an effect on the yield. The others are actually true if you read them through. B, C, and D are true for catalysts. Question 78. In which of the following compounds does hydrogen have a negative oxidation number? And probably have seen this question before. And you should know that it is B. Just to let you know, those who don't know why it is B. Sodium has a +1 charge. And so for this overall here, the oxidation number is to be 0. The hydrogen will have to get a -1. Alright, so the answer is B. Or this will have been question 79. From which of the following substances can a solid be obtained by the process of sedimentation? And this is suspension. Alright, so there were 278. So just look back at the number on the top of the screen. This one I was numbering, I probably put 78 two times. So just follow the number at the top of the screen when you're responding. So which of the following gases shows no reaction with moist litmus paper? So is it ammonia gas, hydrogen gas, sulfur dioxide gas, or hydrogen sulfide gas? Yes, it is B, hydrogen gas. So what is the color change for ammonia gas? You'll have to give me two answers, right? One color to another color. So ammonia, I have mentioned that before, ammonia is an alkaline gas, so it is going to change red to blue, and these two here are going to change blue to red. Oh, good. Question 80. Which of the following techniques or processes may be used to separate the mixture of plant pigments? Yes, this is a bit of a giveaway. It is chromatography. 81. Tells us here that a solution of iron 2 sulfate was added until in excess to a solution of barium nitrate. The precipitate produced was filtered off and water was added to the residue in the filter paper. What would have been the color of the residue or the precipitate? So during this reaction here, barium sulfate is going to be produced, and barium sulfate is white. All right, so the color of the precipitate will be white. So barium sulfate is insoluble, right? So that is why we have this. Now, what was the purpose of adding water to the residue? So it says here that was you're filtering the filter paper. So we add water to the residue. So what was purpose of adding water during the filtration process? Also correct, not a video. It is to purify the precipitate. All right, so 82 is C. 83. The atoms of element Y contain 19 electrons. The chemistry with element Y will be similar to. So 19 electrons, right now the configuration will be 2, 8, 8, 1, which is telling us it is in group 1. So we're looking to see which of these elements here is in group 1. So that is going to be bromine. I'm sorry, D lithium. All right, so that 53 is D. 84, which of the following salts is an acidic salt? So we recognize the salt, acid salt by having a hydrogen inside. That is E. Question 85. What is the purpose of adding a small quantity of concentrated sulfuric acid during the reaction between ethanol and ethanoic acid? So is it to oxidize the ethanol, catalyze the reaction, dehydrate the ethanol, or hydrolyze the products? So send in a response. I'm just awaiting a few more persons. And how can you participate? Send in a response when the question is on screen. Good. So it is B. The purpose of the sulfuric acid is to catalyze the reaction. There are two reasons why we add concentrated sulfuric acid. One is to catalyze the reaction, and during the reaction between ethanol and ethanoic acid, water is going to be produced. So another reason why we add the concentrated sulfuric acid is to remove that water form. Question 86. Which of the following reactions occurs between propene and bromine? So propene, that's an alkene. So what type of reaction is going to happen between alkene and bromine? So it is, yes, addition reaction. 87. Iron 2 chloride and iron 3 chloride are two chlorides of iron. Which of the following statements will be true? So going through percentage of iron by mass in the two chlorides is different. That is going to be true. The colors of the aqueous solutions are of the two chlorides will be different. And again, that's true. Iron 2 chloride, we expect that to have a color of around greenish color. Iron 3 chloride around, or it should be brownish color. The aqueous solutions of the two chlorides do not conduct electricity, and this is not true, so the answer is C. So we go to question 88. So question 88 is simply asking you which is the balance equation for the reaction given. So you'll have to just examine whichever of the numbers here that is balanced, and you'll find that A is the balance equation. 89. Which of the following compounds use a brown gas and a black solid of residue upon heating? So brown gas is telling us that's nitrogen dioxide. Right, so that is going to be a nitrate, copper nitrate, because copper oxide is going to be the black residue. Question 90. Which of the following metals are extracted from their ores by reduction of their oxides with carbon? So while you're doing that, let me just write out the electrochemical series and explain how you know this answer actually. So potassium, but so you remember the mnemonic? People sometimes collect magazines about zoos in London having cute monkeys and small gorillas. Right, that is just a mnemonic to remember that series. So from potassium to aluminum, we normally will use electrolysis. From zinc to lead, we add a reducing agent. And from copper to gold, we just heat. the ore in here. All right, so going back to our answer there. Which of the following will be using a reduction of the oxide, will be extracted rather by reduction of the oxide with carbon? So which answer is it going to be now? A few of you are sending in incorrect answer, so just change your answer. You get a choice here quickly to change your answer. Yeah, so it is going to be, still waiting, a few of you. Good. So it is going to be D, iron and zinc. So we have iron and we have zinc. Question 91, during the electrolysis of aqueous copper 2 sulfate solution using inert electrodes, the ions migrate into the cathode are, so we would expect that it is the cations that will be going towards the cathode. So looking through here, this is wrong, this is wrong, here's wrong also. So we have the copper 2 plus and H plus ions. 92, which of the diagrams illustrates bonding in chlorine? So chlorine has 7 electrons in the outer shell. Let's run another chlorine here. So what's going to happen? We're going to have a single bond. All right, so that answer there is going to be D. All right, so the persons who have said D, that is correct. 93 is asking us for oxygen gas this time, so that is going to be 6 electrons in the outer shell. And you can follow the same working for the chlorine just now. And you should find that that is B. All right, so 2, 4, 5, 6, and we have 2, 4, 5, 6. With an O double bonded to O. Question 94, this is a question repeated on your slide. Rate of chemical reaction does not depend on, let me see if you can remember this answer here. Good, yes, it is D. Question 95. In which reaction is ethane produced from ethanol? So ethanol is going to move to ethene and then to ethane. But from ethanol to ethene, that is a dehydrating reaction, dehydration reaction. So the answer there is B. 96. Which reaction involves the boiling of a fat or oil with aqueous sodium hydroxide or caustic soda? This is an experiment actually we did in school, like the persons at ago. This is one of the SBAs conducted. So when we boil oil and caustic soda, what did we produce? Yes, it was soap upon application. 97. Which acid functions as a dehydrating agent when concentrated? We'll have worked on similar questions using the same concept. So you're supposed to be able to tell me the answer very quickly here. So it is, yes, A, sulfuric acid. 98. Using the same options again. Which acid reacts with copper to produce an acidic reddish brown gas? So that gas we're talking about is nitrogen dioxide. So the answer there is going to be nitric acid. C. 99. Which of the following ionic equations involves oxidation? Now, you should remember that oxidation, we write oil rig. So oxidation is loss of electrons. You can send me a response right there, man. Good. So we can see it in option A, we have a loss of electron, 2 electrons there. So there's C. Question 100. And we'll have mentioned this concept in other questions here. Which of the following methods is used for the extraction of aluminum? Yes, so that is electrolysis of its molten oxide. So we have to identify which series each of the compounds belong to. So Q, we see that it is the functional group is COOH. So this is the acid. Here we have COO. This is going to be the ester. And option S, we have the hydroxyl group or the OH group. So this is the alcohol. All right, so we're looking at the answer of acid ester alcohol, which is D. 102. The following metals neither reacts with water nor displaces hydrogen from dilute hydrochloric acid. So this is referring, I think we work a similar question, if not the same question. A metal that is below hydrogen in the reactivity series, and that is copper. Question 103. But so all three options here are correct, 1, 2, and 3. So it is D. Which of the following aqueous solutions will produce a yellow precipitate with aqueous potassium iodide? So potassium iodide plus something is going to give us a yellow precipitate. So the yellow precipitate here is actually test for ions. That would have been the qualitative analysis topic. And we should know that it is lead iodide, which is this yellow precipitate. So that is coming from lead nitrate. Good. So this question here presents a scenario. It was found that magnesium metal displaces zinc ions in zinc sulfate, while zinc metal displaces lead ions in lead sulfate. So the question is asking you what is the order of reactivity from most reactive to least reactive. And we just through out this statement here and just try to figure it out. Or you can just, from your knowledge of the reactivity series, just rearrange the elements. All right, so you'll find that we will have magnesium and then zinc and then lead. So it is B. Question 106, which of the compounds can be hydrated? All right, so I'm reading through your responses and as I'm meeting it. So hydrated means that we can add water basically as a reaction. All right, don't feel that we just add water, but as a reaction. So I see a common answer. Persons are saying vinegar. Actually, I'm seeing somebody saying B also, so, and the rest being vinegar. The answer there is B, propene. All right, and you should know that our propene plus water that is in the form of steam is going to give you propanol. All right, so alkenes will be hydrated in the process hydration with steam or steam being brought in its gaseous state to form the corresponding alcohol. The answer there is propanol. I'm sorry, propene. 107, which of the compounds has a pH less than 7? Less than 7 means that it is acidic. All good. So everyone is saying yes. It is vinegar, which contains ethanoic acid. So which of the following is produced when carbon monoxide reacts with iron 3 oxide? So let me just write out the equation for you, at least when you be revising, you know what's happening, and for the benefit of the grade 10 students, that they can be able to write this equation. So it is carbon monoxide plus iron 3 oxide will give us iron plus carbon dioxide gas. Balancing this equation, we're going to have 3 in front of the carbon monoxide, 2 in front of the iron, and 3 in front of carbon dioxide. So looking at the options there, we'll see that there's going to be iron and carbon dioxide. So that is D. Under 9. A piece of limestone, everybody can recall what is limestone. Just type in what is limestone, what is the chemical name. Good. I see correct answer there from Sherry, of course. The others sending their answers now. It is calcium carbonate. And what is calcium hydroxide? What is the common name for calcium hydroxide? These are two that students get mixed up with them. But yes, again, correct there, Sherry. It is called lime water. All right, so when we're in the chemistry exam, you see lime water. Don't think that we're talking about getting water from lime or an acidic solution. So we continue with the question that we're dealing with. So a piece of limestone, which is calcium carbonate, is treated with dilute hydrochloric acid. So acid plus a carbonate, will be expecting CO2 gas along the way. So we go through the options. Effervescence occurs, well, yes. So we just say a gas is going to be produced, and this gas is carbon dioxide gas. So the gas is evolved with a pungent odor. No, that is not true. All right, a gas is evolved which turns lime water milky, and this is correct. So it is 1 and 3 only, which is B. Hundred and ten. Which of the following structures represents a compound that can react with an alcohol, produce a sweet smelling liquid? The sweet smelling liquid basically means this thing is an ester. So alcohol plus something equal ester. So we're looking for the organic acid or carboxylic acid, and we recognize it by having the COOH group. Right, so that is going to be a C. Number 11. Steel is often used in place of iron because steel is, or steels has, if you go in option B. Why do we use steel instead of iron, or in place of iron? All right, so yes, we use it because it is stronger. All right, so steel will be in there, an alloy. Right, that's one of the reasons why we use alloys, because they're stronger than the actual metal that they would have been used from made from. A solution has a pH of 1, so we know this is an acidic solution. This solution will be expected to react with zinc metal to produce hydrogen. So this answer is actually correct. If you read through the options, they don't really make sense too much. Acid plus hydrochloric acid to produce chlorine. Now, acid plus metal to produce a solution of pH 10. No. And acid reacting with hydrochloric acid produces salt and water. Again. 113. Why is it that we add cryolite? I think we answer this question. Right. Why do we add cryolite to the pure aluminum in the extraction of aluminum by electrolysis? Or the question had a different word in earlier. All right, well, yes, it is A. It lowers the melting point. Question 114, and we're coming down to the end of today's session. We're at for 2 hours now. Having started at 9 o'clock, so yeah, so question 114, let's get a message from the student. Let's check through something here. So what type of reaction occurs when zinc metal is added to copper sulfate? So I'm just going to write out the, because I'm having several different responses here. Right, so let me just write it out. So zinc plus copper sulfate. Oh, since zinc is more reactive than copper, I don't want to use a term now, but zinc is going to take the place of copper. So it's going to be zinc sulfate plus copper. So now we can go with what is the term. It will have been that zinc displaces copper in a displacement reaction. So just going through here, combustion means if we will have added oxygen gas, just for sake of revision here. Neutralization is basically acid plus base, and the displacement is the answer. And decomposition, you'll recognize it by you see in you'll have one compound, you'll have an arrow, and more likely you'll see a triangle there, and then you'll have your products. Right, so that's just a quick way of recognizing how these different. The triangle mean that's a thermal decomposition, right? Because it can be a catalytic decomposition. Some equations can be without the triangle. For example, when we do hydrogen peroxide, we will not put a triangle there. The triangle being in there to a temperature change. All right, so we go to 150. Which, sorry, formula of a gas with a distinctive color is? And that is B. We'll work a few questions like this already. I'm not sure if this was the exact question, but B with nitrogen dioxide being red brown. Question 116. Glucose is converted to starch or cellulose by, and yes, it is A, condensation polymerization. One 17. Which of these compounds will react with bromine only if light is present? Good. So we should know that this here is referring to the alkenes. Only if we have light, and then the alkenes will react with bromine solution. So we should be looking at a compound that has the formula CnH2n plus. Working that through or checking them, you'll see that it is going to be C, which is ethane. Question 118. During the manufacture of ethanol by fermentation, gas evolved from something, so you should know we had actually worked a question with the equation, and you'll have seen that that is carbon dioxide gas. So basically, which is a test for carbon dioxide gas? It is that it turns lime water milky or cloudy. Oh, 119, we worked this already. I'm going to work back again. 120. A piece of metal is reacted with an acid to produce hydrogen gas. Which of the following steps should be employed to increase the rate of reaction? And we worked the same question already, right? So that will have been here. 121. Which of the following substances do not produce water when reacted with an acid? So I'm just going through each one of them because I'm seeing here first and not too certain what is the answer. Carbonates, they will form salt, water, carbon dioxide gas. So the person will have said E. No, that's not correct. So these B and C will be the salt and water. And what for metals, active metals, because they will use the word active metals, the metals will just form the salt and hydrogen gas. All right, so water is not going to be produced here. So the answer is C. 122 is a very popular question in several papers, so I added this question. What is the formula for ammonium carbonate? So ammonium ion has a +1 charge and a carbonate rather, CO, CO, 3, 2 minus. So bring the 2 down at the bottom here to put that in brackets, and the 1 is basically coming in here. So the answer there is going to be C. All right, NH4 twice, CO3. 123. This question shows the temperature versus volume of acid added in a neutralization reaction. Question is asking you, which of the points on the graph represents the neutralization point of the reaction? Is it P, Q, R, or S? And it is going to be at this temperature here, or at Q. So the answer is B. One 124. When a metal atom becomes an ion with something, so metals are going to lose electrons to form metal plus charge. So we expect that they're going to lose electrons. So we're looking at either C or D. And we will go back to our rule, oil rig. So loss of electrons is oxidation. So oxidation was happening here, so therefore the answer there is it loses electrons and is oxidized. So that is D. Final question, but this question was a repeat for what we worked earlier. Now what will have happened is that I used the papers 2017, 2018, and 2020 January papers, and put the questions together. And I tried my best to take out the questions on 2020. I probably didn't repeat, right? But going through 100 plus questions, a few might have slipped me there. All right, so you certainly remember the answer. Though. Let me see how many of you can recall this answer. So yes, all 3 are correct. So it is D. Good, so this will bring an end to today's class. I do hope that you have learned some of the something at least from today's class, and you've gained better knowledge, and you're better prepared for Monday's exam. All right, any questions before I close the class? Any questions, any comments? Or yes, I will be uploading a recording of this session probably in another hour or so. If I have to convert, and then I'll upload it to YouTube. All right, so look out on the channel and ensure that all you ensure that you keep checking the notifications on YouTube so you get the notification that I've just uploaded to YouTube. All right, if anyone wants to work on other people in things in the afternoon, you can probably just message me and make the arrangement. Right, and we can go through any other paper, any problems that you have for any of the years. All right, so I'm going to end the class now. Good luck in Monday's exam for those who probably I won't get to meet. My students, I'll be there tomorrow morning in school. All right, so enjoy the rest of the day.